Hello, Michael and Jana from Classic Book Deep Dive here.
Hi, everyone.
Today we will talk about the psychology of money.
Yeah.
So relax and take a deep dive with us into Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money.
One of my favorites.
You know, for a book about money,
Right.
it's surprisingly not about spreadsheets or stock picking.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's more about the often hidden forces driving our financial decisions,
Yeah.
our emotions, our biases,
Right.
even our childhood experiences.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Okay.
Early on, Housel shares these contrasting stories.
Yeah.
One about Ronald Reed, a janitor who quietly amassed millions,
Mm-hmm.
and another about Richard Fuscone, a Harvard MBA who went bankrupt.
Yeah.
So what's fascinating here is that Reed's success wasn't due to some complex investment strategy.
Yo, not at all.
He simply saved consistently, invested in solid companies, and let the magic of compounding work over decades.
The old buy and hold strategy.
Right.
Fuscone, despite his education, fell victim to common psychological traps, highlighting that financial success isn't just about being smart. It's about mastering your mindset.
This reminds me of something Housel quotes from another book.
Okay.
The hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving.
Yeah.
It's so easy to constantly raise our expectations as we earn more,
Yeah.
making enough feel perpetually out of reach.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Right.
it challenges the idea that more money automatically equals more happiness.
Uh-huh.
Housel uses this anecdote about John Bogle,
Okay.
the founder of Vanguard,
Yeah.
being at a party with a billionaire.
Okay.
A guest, the author Joseph Heller,
Mm-hmm.
points out that Bogle has something the billionaire may never have:
What is that?
enough.
Yeah. Contentment.
Yay.
And that ties back into so many of the themes in the book.
So, speaking of interesting,
Okay.
Housel dives into research by economists Malmendier and Nagel,
Oh, yeah.
who found that our financial decisions are heavily influenced by the economic climate we experienced growing up. Really fascinating stuff.
So someone who came of age during high inflation might be more averse to risk even decades later.
Yeah, they looked at 50 years of data across a wide range of people to come to their conclusions.
Huh.
And their findings were statistically significant, too.
So it wasn't just some small sample size.
No, not at all.
Their work suggests that it's not just what we learn about money, but when we learn it, that leaves a lasting impact.
Yeah, for example, they discovered that people who lived through times of high inflation in their youth
Okay.
tend to save more later in life, even when inflation is no longer a major threat.
So basically, our early experiences with money create a kind of financial fingerprint,
Yeah, I like that.
shaping our attitudes and behaviors,
Uh-huh.
often subconsciously.
Precisely.
So this raises an important question.
What's that?
How much of our financial decision-making is truly rational?
Right.
And how much is driven by these deep-seated biases we might not even be aware of?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if it's mostly subconscious, then how much control do we actually have?
Housel then tackles this head-on with the concept of the never-enough trap.
This is a big one.
He shares stories of incredibly wealthy individuals like Rajat Gupta and Bernie Madoff,
Oh, yeah, familiar names.
who risked everything for even more wealth.
It really makes you wonder what drives people like that.
Well, what's striking is that these weren't cases of needing more money for basic survival or even comfort.
Right.
It was about the insatiable desire for more,
Mm-hmm.
driven by ego, status, or perhaps a fear of losing what they already had.
The fear of scarcity, even when you have plenty.
Yeah.
It's like they were on a treadmill constantly running, but never truly
It
arriving.
makes you wonder, what's the point of accumulating vast wealth if you never allow yourself to feel content?
It all ties back to the idea of defining your own enough.
Right.
Like we were saying earlier, it's not an objective number. It's
Yeah.
a psychological state.
Yeah.
And achieving that state is often more about mindset than bank balance.
Speaking of powerful forces, Housel then dives into the magic of compounding.
Love this part of the book.
He uses this unexpected analogy. Ice ages.
Ice ages.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
I know it seems strange at first.
Yeah.
But he brilliantly connects how small changes, like a slightly cooler summer,
Mm-hmm.
can compound over time to create massive ice sheets.
Okay.
Just like a thin layer of unmelted snow can eventually grow into a massive glacier.
Right.
Small, consistent savings and investments can lead to extraordinary wealth over decades.
The snowball effect.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, so I get it. Small, consistent actions repeated over time yield massive results.
Yep.
But why is this concept so hard for people to grasp?
I think because our brains are wired for instant gratification.
Okay,
We want to see results now.
makes sense.
Compounding, on the other hand, is a slow burn.
Right.
It requires patience, discipline, and a willingness to delay gratification.
Which can be tough in our fast-paced world.
Yeah, it really goes against our natural inclinations sometimes.
So it's less about finding some brilliant investment
Yeah.
and more about developing the right habits and mindset for the long haul.
Exactly.
I see.
Housel argues that building wealth is more about mastering your psychology than finding the next hot stock tip.
Which brings us to another fascinating pair of stories. Housel contrasts.
Yeah.
Jesse Livermore, who made and lost fortunes through risky bets.
Oh, yeah, Livermore.
Yeah.
Classic example of boom and bust.
Right, and Abraham Germansky, who built his wealth slowly but steadily.
Okay.
Sadly, both men met tragic ends during the 1929 crash.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that.
But their paths highlight a crucial difference.
So what was the difference?
Well, Livermore's success was driven by speculation and a willingness to gamble big, while Germansky focused on solid long-term investments.
Makes sense.
Their stories show that getting wealthy and staying wealthy require different mindsets.
So it's not just about accumulating wealth. It's
Right.
about holding on to it.
Exactly.
And that takes a different set of skills.
It's almost like two different games with different rules.
I like that analogy.
Getting wealthy might involve taking big risks.
Right.
But staying wealthy requires prudence,
Mm-hmm.
diversification,
Yeah.
and a focus on preserving capital.
It's like the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah,
Very-
slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly.
Housel makes the point that getting wealthy can be the result of taking big risks that pay off.
Mm-hmm.
But staying wealthy requires a different mindset,
Mm.
focused on preservation
Mm-hmm.
and avoiding ruin.
Risk management is key.
So true.
Once you've built something,
Yeah,
you don't want to lose it all.
absolutely.
Especially to some avoidable mistake.
Which is why understanding tail events is so important.
Oh, yeah. Tail events.
These are those rare but hugely impactful events that can completely change the game, like the 1929 crash or the dot-com bubble bursting.
Things that can really shake things up.
Housel uses the example of Brad Pitt.
Wait, Brad Pitt?
Well, not the actor himself,
Yeah.
but his outlook. He's said that in creative fields, some projects work and some don't, and you just have to move on.
Okay.
It's that acceptance of both success and failure
Yeah.
as part of the process.
Interesting.
I think it applies to investing too.
Definitely.
You're going to have wins and losses.
Uh-huh.
The key is to learn from both and keep moving forward.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
Imagine a bell curve.
All right.
Most events cluster around the middle.
Okay.
But at the edges, the tails, you
Yeah.
have these outliers.
Right.
In investing, those outliers could be massive wins
Yeah.
or catastrophic losses.
Got it.
Understanding this dynamic helps us make more informed decisions about risk.
So it's not just about avoiding risk entirely.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding its nature and making sure we're not overexposed to those potential tail events.
Exactly.
Right.
It's about managing risk intelligently,
Right.
not being paralyzed by fear or blinded by the allure of a quick windfall.
Which brings us to one of the most appealing aspects of financial independence, freedom.
Everyone wants freedom.
Housel shares his own experience as a valet,
Oh, wow.
driving luxury cars,
Okay.
and realizing the owners weren't always as happy or admired as he imagined.
Interesting.
It's a great illustration of how our perceptions of wealth often don't match reality.
Right.
Money can buy comfort and convenience,
Yeah.
but it doesn't automatically guarantee happiness or fulfillment.
No, it doesn't buy happiness.
And sometimes it can even create a sense of isolation or pressure to maintain a certain image.
Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses.
It reminds me of that quote, "The problem with the rat race is that even if you win, you're still a rat."
Ah, so true.
So the freedom Housel talks about is deeper than that.
Okay, I like where this is going.
It's about controlling your time,
Mm-hmm.
having the flexibility to pursue your passions,
Yeah.
and not being beholden to a job you dislike just for a paycheck.
It's about having options.
Exactly.
The freedom to choose how you spend your time.
I think that resonates with a lot of people.
Absolutely.
In a world where we're constantly bombarded with messages about what we should buy and how we should live,
Mm-hmm.
it's refreshing to hear someone say that true wealth is about something more than just accumulating possessions.
It's about aligning your financial decisions with your values
Right.
and using money as a tool to create a life that is truly fulfilling.
I love that.
Me too.
Really powerful stuff.
Yeah, this book really makes you think.
I agree.
And hopefully it helps people make better financial decisions.
That's the goal, right?
Definitely. And that freedom often starts with a simple but powerful habit saving.
Saving.
Yeah.
It's something Housel emphasizes throughout the book.
Yeah, it's fundamental.
But in a world that's constantly tempting us to spend,
Yeah.
it can feel like an uphill battle.
Oh, it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
We're bombarded with messages to buy the latest gadgets, upgrade our wardrobes, indulge in experiences.
Yeah, it's everywhere you look.
But Housel reminds us that saving isn't about deprivation.
Right.
It's about empowerment.
Okay, I like that.
It's about taking control of your finances
Right.
and building a future where you have more choices.
He talks about the unseen return on savings.
Yeah.
It's not just about the interest you earn.
Right.
It's about the options and flexibility it provides.
Exactly.
So it's not just about the numbers.
Right.
It's about the peace of mind,
Yeah.
the security.
The freedom.
Yeah.
Having a healthy savings cushion gives you the freedom to take risks, change careers, or simply weather unexpected financial storms without panicking.
Like having a safety net
Exactly.
that allows you to make choices based on your values, not out of fear or desperation.
That's a really important point.
It's about being proactive
Yeah.
instead of reactive.
And it's important to remember that saving isn't just for retirement.
Right.
It's for creating a life you love today.
Yeah. So you can enjoy the journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about having the resources to pursue your passions,
Thanks.
travel, or spend more time with loved ones.
Things that truly matter.
Absolutely.
So Housel argues that a high savings rate is one of the most important factors in building wealth.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
But he also challenges the idea that we need to be perfectly rational in our financial decisions.
Oh, interesting.
He uses the example of Julius Wagner Jauregg,
Okay.
a doctor who won a Nobel Prize for using fever therapy to treat syphilis.
Fever therapy.
Mhm.
Even though fevers were widely feared at the time.
Seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, like fighting fire with fire.
But it highlights how sometimes emotionally satisfying decisions can lead to better outcomes,
Cooking.
even if they defy traditional logic.
So sometimes you have to trust your gut.
Yeah, sometimes the unconventional approach is the right one.
Housel also shares the story of Harry Markowitz.
Another Nobel laureate
Yeah.
who developed a complex theory for portfolio optimization,
Okay.
but invested his own money in a much simpler way.
So he didn't even follow his own theory.
Well, it's fascinating how even brilliant minds recognize that sometimes simple, reasonable approaches are more sustainable than striving for perfect rationality, especially when it comes to our own money.
Because sometimes simplicity is best.
Exactly.
The key takeaway is that our emotions play a huge role in financial decision-making.
Yeah, we can't ignore our emotions.
And ignoring them can lead to self-sabotage.
Absolutely.
Sometimes a plan we can actually stick to,
Right.
even if it's not perfectly optimal,
Yeah.
is better than a complex strategy we abandon out of frustration or fear.
It's about finding what works for you
Right.
and what you can realistically maintain over time.
This reminds me of another point. Housel makes the seduction of pessimism.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about how negative predictions often grab our attention more than positive ones,
Bad news sells.
even though the world tends to improve over time.
Yeah, it's like we're drawn to the drama.
But in the context of finance, this negativity bias can lead to fear-based decisions that actually hurt our long-term returns.
We'll let fear paralyze us
Yeah, we make decisions based on worst-case scenarios.
instead of focusing on the potential for growth.
Housel tells the story of a Russian professor who gained notoriety for predicting the collapse of the U.S. dollar in 2008.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, that didn't happen.
Obvious.
But it highlights how easily we can get swept up in fear-mongering.
Yeah, especially when it comes to our money.
It's important to be aware of this bias
Uh-huh.
and to balance our assessment of risk with a healthy dose of optimism.
Optimism and realism.
Yeah, a balanced perspective.
Remember, the world has overcome countless challenges throughout history,
True.
and innovation often thrives in times of uncertainty.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
No, definitely not.
Housel then delves into a concept that might seem unrelated to money at first, stories.
Stories.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
We all use stories to make sense of a world,
Right.
especially when faced with complexity and uncertainty.
Yeah, we create narratives to help us understand things.
And money is no exception.
So how do stories relate to money?
Well, he gives the example of his 1-year-old daughter's simple narrative to explain why her dad goes to work.
Okay.
Dad isn't playing with me, and I wanted him to play with me, so I'm sad.
Oh, that's cute.
It's a reminder that even as adults, we often rely on narratives to explain financial events.
Uh-huh.
even if those narratives aren't entirely accurate or helpful.
So the stories we tell ourselves about money can shape our decisions.
Exactly.
Sometimes leading us down the wrong path.
If we believe a story that the stock market is rigged, for example,
Okay.
we might avoid investing altogether.
Yeah, missing out on potential long-term growth.
Or if we buy into the get-rich-quick narrative,
Right.
we might make impulsive, risky investments that could lead to financial disaster.
Those get-rich-quick schemes rarely end well.
Housel encourages us to be aware of the narratives we're buying into and to challenge those stories, especially when they lead to fear-based decisions
Yeah.
or prevent us from pursuing our financial goals.
We have the power to rewrite our financial narratives
Okay, I like that.
and create stories that empower us to make smart choices and achieve financial success on our own terms.
So it's about taking control of the narrative
Exactly.
and creating a story that supports our goals.
It's about being the author of your own financial story.
This brings us back to the core theme of the book. Financial success is less about technical expertise and more about understanding our own psychology.
It's about mastering our mindset,
Right.
recognizing our biases,
Yeah.
managing our emotions, and developing habits that align with our long-term goals.
Habits that serve us well.
Exactly.
Housel argues that one of the most valuable assets we have is control over our time.
Time is precious.
It's the ultimate form of wealth,
I agree.
and it's something we can build through smart financial decisions.
So how do we build control over our time through financial decisions?
Well, it's about making choices that give us more flexibility, more options, and less stress about money.
It's about creating a life where we're not constantly chasing a paycheck, where we have the freedom to pursue our passions and spend time doing things that truly matter to us.
He talks about the paradox of wanting wealth to signal status,
Yeah.
but realizing that true respect and admiration often come from qualities like kindness, humility, and integrity.
Those are the things that truly make a difference.
It's a reminder that material possessions might bring temporary satisfaction,
Right.
but lasting fulfillment comes from living a life that is aligned with our values.
A life of purpose and meaning.
Housel also stresses the importance of focusing on long-term goals.
The long game.
He compares building wealth to planting an oak tree.
Okay.
It takes years, even decades, to reach its full potential.
A good analogy.
Just like we wouldn't expect an oak tree to grow overnight.
Right.
We shouldn't expect to get rich quickly.
Patience is key,
It takes patience, discipline, and a willingness to delay gratification.
which can be hard in our instant gratification society.
And he emphasizes the importance of being comfortable with uncertainty.
Uncertainty is a part of life.
The financial world is unpredictable,
Yeah.
and we need to accept that we can't control everything.
We can't predict the future.
Instead of fearing the unknown,
Right.
we should view it as an opportunity for growth.
Okay.
Embrace the fact that the world is surprising
Yeah.
and have a plan for dealing with those surprises, whether it's an unexpected job loss,
Okay.
a market downturn,
Yeah.
or an unexpected medical expense.
Those are the things that can really throw us off track.
Having a solid financial foundation,
Right.
an emergency fund,
Yeah.
adequate insurance, and a diversified investment portfolio
Those are the building blocks.
can help us weather those storms and emerge stronger on the other side.
Preparation is key.
Housel also cautions against making extreme financial decisions.
What does he mean by extreme?
Well, he points out that our goals and desires will likely change over time.
That's true.
And the more extreme our past decisions were,
Yeah.
the more we may regret them as we evolve.
It's about finding a balance between taking calculated risks and protecting ourselves from potential ruin.
It's about being mindful of the long-term consequences of our choices.
He talks about the importance of defining the game you're playing,
Okay.
making sure your actions are aligned with your own goals and values,
Right.
not influenced by others who might be playing a different game.
So it's about staying true to yourself
Yeah.
and not getting caught up in comparisons,
It's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others.
especially when it comes to money.
Yeah, social media doesn't help.
But Housel reminds us that everyone's financial journey is unique.
That's so important to remember.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Focus on what's right for you
Right.
based on your own circumstances and aspirations.
Not on keeping up with the Joneses or trying to impress people who might not even care.
It's about finding your own path.
And he stresses the importance of respecting the mess.
The mess.
Yeah, acknowledging that there's no single right answer when it comes to money.
Yeah, there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Smart, informed people can disagree.
And that's okay.
It's about finding what feels right for you,
Right.
both rationally and emotionally,
Yeah.
and creating a financial plan that you can stick with for the long haul.
Housel even shares some of his own financial habits,
Oh, really?
giving readers a glimpse into how he applies these principles in his own life.
Well, so he walks the walk.
Yeah, he's not just talking the talk.
What kind of habits does he share?
Well, he and his wife have maintained a relatively modest lifestyle,
Okay.
even as their incomes have risen.
So they're not living extravagantly,
No, they're living below their means.
which allows them to save a significant portion of their earnings.
Exactly.
They've also made some unconventional choices,
Like what?
like paying off their mortgage early,
Interesting.
prioritizing peace of mind and financial independence over maximizing their returns.
So they're not chasing the highest possible returns.
No, they're prioritizing their well-being.
It's a reminder that financial decisions are personal and should be aligned with our values and priorities.
He concludes the book with a fascinating historical analysis of the American consumer,
Oh, wow.
tracing the evolution of how we think about money from the post-World War II era to the present day.
Sounds like a really interesting perspective.
It's a thought-provoking look at how our spending habits and attitudes towards debt has been shaped by cultural and economic forces.
So it's not just about individual choices.
Right.
It's about the larger context.
He examines the rise of consumer credit,
Okay.
the widening gap between rich and poor,
Yeah.
and the challenges facing the middle class.
It's a nuanced and insightful analysis
I agree.
that helps us understand the context in which we make our financial decisions
Uh-huh.
and encourages us to think critically about the economic forces at play.
So it's about seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that we're not just individuals making isolated choices.
Right.
We're part of a larger system,
Uh-huh.
and our decisions have ripple effects.
It's a powerful call to action.
To be more mindful consumers,
Yeah.
responsible investors,
Uh-huh.
and engaged citizens.
To use our financial resources wisely and ethically,
Right.
and advocate for policies that promote economic fairness and opportunity for all.
The Psychology of Money is more than just a personal finance book.
I'd agree.
It's a deep dive into human behavior and the often irrational ways we think about and interact with money.
It's about understanding ourselves.
Yeah, and how our minds work.
It's a book that can benefit anyone,
Right.
regardless of their financial background or level of expertise.
It's one of those books that stays with you long after you've finished reading it,
Yeah, it really makes you think.
prompting you to re-examine your own relationship with money
Uh-huh.
and make choices that lead to greater financial well-being and a more fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
What stood out to you most from our deep dive?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think for me it was how Housel connected seemingly unrelated concepts like who would have thought ice ages and compound interest had anything in common.
Right? It's that kind of creative thinking that makes the book so engaging and insightful. It's not a dry technical manual. It's a story-driven exploration of the human side of money.
And I love how he brings that human element to the forefront, showing how our emotions, biases, and personal histories shape our financial decisions, often in ways we don't even realize.
Yeah, it's like he's peeling back the layers of our financial psyches.
Exactly. The biggest takeaway for me is the importance of aligning our financial choices with our values. It's not just about maximizing returns, it's about using money as a tool to create a life that is meaningful and fulfilling.
That's a powerful concept that I think we can all aspire to. Housel provides a roadmap for getting there, not through quick fixes or get-rich-quick schemes, but through embracing a long-term perspective, developing sound financial habits, and making choices that are both rational and reasonable.
Choices that take into account our emotions, our goals, and our overall well-being.
It's a holistic approach to finance that recognizes that money is more than just a means to an end. It's a powerful force that can shape our lives, for better or worse, depending on how we choose to use it.
And Housel encourages us to use it wisely, ethically, and in a way that brings us joy and fulfillment.
It really is a thought-provoking book that challenges us to examine our own relationship with money. And I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive into the psychology of money.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you.
Likewise, we hope you enjoyed this exploration of the fascinating world of behavioral finance and how it impacts our everyday lives.
And we hope you learned some valuable insights that you can apply to your own financial journey.
Be sure to check out the book for a deeper dive into these ideas and many more. And until next time, happy reading.
And happy investing.